In this video, I have 20 upgrades for your LEGO Star Wars minifigures. All these upgrades use genuine LEGO parts and each one came out pretty neat. So with that being said, let's begin. The first upgrade is for Obi-Wan Kenobi from Attack of the Clones. The most recent variant of this minifigure looks pretty cool, but there is a simple way to make him even better. All you need is this dark orange hairpiece, which is a bit more detailed than the one LEGO uses. This upgrade is pretty simple, but the more accurate parting on this hairpiece is definitely an upgrade for this minifig. The next minifigure is Luke Skywalker from the X-Wing mech. You probably already know about this upgrade, but if you don't, you simply take the arms and legs from the Luke keychain and swap them with the limbs on the mech minifigure. This is a common upgrade, but makes this minifigure look 10 times better and is a much cheaper way to get a UCS minifig. The next minifigure to upgrade is Boba Fett. This recent variant of the minifigure is the most accurate to date, so how can you make it better? Well, if you grab the cake piece from the 2016 Boba Fett, it works perfectly with the more updated minifig and adds a last bit of detail. You can also swap out LEGO's brick-built interpretation of his gun for this pirate rifle, which is a more accurate colour and looks surprisingly like his weapon despite being from a completely different theme. These upgrades are pretty simple, but if you have the parts are definitely worth it to make this great minifigure even better and on par with the Cloud City Boba Fett minifigure. Now that I've done Boba Fett, I might as well upgrade Jango Fett. This minifigure is pretty old by now, but still holds up really well amongst more modern LEGO minifigures. But there are a few ways to make him even better. Firstly, his rangefinder. Now that LEGO has made this part in more colours, I swapped out his grey one for a blue one, which looks more accurate to his one in the movies. We also need to do something about his guns. The easiest upgrade is to leave them the way they are, but add one of these Technic pieces to the end of them, which adds a longer barrel like the ones on his guns in Attack of the Clones. Otherwise, if you want a more classic look, you can use these old Wild West pistols which LEGO used on the original Jango minifigure. These options both work well, but the coolest look is to use two silver pistols from the Lone Ranger. Like the other two options, these don't look exactly like his guns, but are my personal favourite because they're so detailed and look so cool. Next, I have 3 minifigure upgrades from Star Wars Battlefront 2. First is Iden Versio, who looks okay, but I feel like her head doesn't look much like how she looks in the game. So instead I use this one from Marvel's Echo, which has a more accurate skin tone and features. But the most important upgrades are to give her a normal blaster instead of a stud shooter, and the helmet from the spare Inferno Squad minifigure that LEGO put in this set. Gideon Hask wasn't officially named in this set, but to turn this generic trooper into him, I just swapped out the head for this one from Spider-Man and used the hairpiece from Hawkeye. I also gave him a different blaster because I am not a fan of stud shooters. You can do the same thing to make Del Meeko by swapping out the head for this one from the Resistance Bomber set and giving him short brown hair. I also gave him a long rifle like he has in the game. These minifigures are some of the coolest looking LEGO Imperials, but these upgrades just bring them to the next level. The next upgrade is for this Shadow Royal Guard minifigure. These guards should have a large robe, which the plain black legs don't represent very well. So instead I replaced them with this robe piece from the D&D Mind Flare minifigure. This makes the minifigure much more impressive and looks much more like a flowing robe. However, if you want to pose this minifigure for battle, you can also swap the legs for these ones, which are available on lots of minifigures, and allows you to move the legs while still having some robe printing. For the next minifigure, I'm going to have to open this set. The minifigure that I'm going to be upgrading is Ahsoka. She already looks really cool and show accurate, however one thing LEGO forgot to add was a poncho. This is a simple upgrade which only requires the cape piece from the Halloween series Ghost minifigure. This grey piece looks pretty accurate to the cape Ahsoka has in the show and is a cool way to add a bit more detail to this minifigure. I also like Ahsoka's new lightsaber colour, but I swapped out the hilts for the Rebels version to give them their more iconic curve. Next is the new Sabine Wren minifigure, also from this Ahsoka set. This minifigure looks pretty good, but I was disappointed when she didn't have arm printing unlike Ahsoka. Firestar Toys makes a custom part to fix this, but if you want a purist option, then you can take the arms from Din Djarin and replace them with Sabine's to get a much more detailed look. In fact, some people might even think they are too detailed, as the prints don't match Sabine's markings, but if you're looking for a purist way to add some more detail to this minifigure, then this is the way. The next upgrade is for one of my favourite Star Wars characters, Darth Maul. This minifig has so many variants and there is probably an upgrade for each one, but I'm going to be upgrading the one from 2014. This minifigure is really detailed and has some awesome arm printing, but the big problem is his head. This version of it has the Clone Wars style eyes that most people don't like. However, you can easily fix this by swapping for a more recent Darth Maul head, which looks a lot cleaner. I also gave him this custom lightsaber with a larger and more accurate hilt, which adds an extra bit of detail to this minifigure. I also made a custom pair of legs for this minifigure. I don't think they are quite as cool as the original pair, but means he doesn't tower over other minifigures like Savage Opress. Speaking of Savage Opress, this minifigure needs an upgrade as well. The first thing I did therefore was swap the torso for an Outriders. This doesn't matter much as it's covered by his unique chest armor, but it's an easy way to update this fig. I also replaced his lightsaber hilt for this longer grey piece to make it more accurate to his in the show. However, the most important upgrade is to swap out his plain black legs for this detailed pair from the 2021 Darth Maul minifigure. I love Savage Opress, but these upgrades are necessary to make him really cool. The next upgrade is for the 2011 Death Watch Mandalorian, who definitely needs the 2025 update. The first thing I did was added these new legs from the Mandalorian pilot minifigure. This gives him some cool and accurate printed detail and already makes this minifigure look much better. However, I also swapped his grey jetpack out for a pearl dark grey version, gave him an updated head and a blue rangefinder for some extra detail. I always loved these minifigures because I think they're such a cool character in the show, but this upgrade is definitely worth it and makes them look even cooler. If you love Rogue One, like me, but didn't get many Rogue One sets back in the day, like me, then this next upgrade is definitely a must-do. All you need is one ground crew minifigure and its generic head and ponytail hairpiece. Simply swap out the ground crew minifigure's head for this female one and add this hairpiece, and now you have a fully accurate and yet fully custom Jyn Erso minifigure. This is the exact same minifigure as the version LEGO made, but without you having to specifically buy that minifigure or set. Helmet on this could just be any old ground crew minifigure, or with the helmet off, it's an easy way to make a Rogue One star. The next upgrade is also pretty simple. All it requires is a Rebel Fleet Trooper and a Series 25 detective. Simply remove the Rebels' legs and replace them with the detectives and you get an upgraded minifigure that looks much more accurate to the original character. There is this slight print on the legs to match up with the detective's coat, but it's pretty missable and is still worth it to make this minifigure look much better. You can also do a very similar upgrade for the Captain Antilles minifigure. By removing his plain legs and replacing them with his dual motor pair, you get a more accurate representation of this character with proper boots. This is a really easy upgrade, but really helps fix this minifigure and adds some more detail which makes him look much better. So as well as the Shadow Royal Guard from earlier, you can also upgrade the normal Royal Guard by replacing the plain red legs for either Zam Wesell's Rogue Piece or a sequel's Praetorian Guard's legs. Both these options work, and it really depends how much posability you want. I prefer the Rogue overall, but the gold at the bottom is a little inaccurate, and I do like the ability to use the legs to position the minifigure for fighting. The recent Snowtrooper minifigure is a really cool fig and is near perfect, but can be given a little bit more detail by adding a waistcape piece from the First Order Snowtrooper minifigures. This covers up the printed element on the legs and adds a bit more depth to this minifigure. A lot of people want LEGO to bring back camas for Star Wars minifigures, and this is an easy way to do it yourself and upgrade this minifigure. The second to last minifigure I have to upgrade for you is Captain Vaughn. I'm glad LEGO made this minifigure, but unfortunately they didn't do a great job. The easiest upgrade for this minifigure is to give him a proper jetpack. I used a grey neck bracket, a white roller skate and a printed tile from the Imperial Super Commandos to make mine. You could also just take the jetpack straight from the Super Commandos, but I wanted mine to be a bit smaller, and I think it looks better personally. I also gave him a rifle instead of the blaster that LEGO used, and a dark red visor rather than orange. The last thing he needs is new arms. I went with the arms from Marvel's Goliath, but you can also use Rex's or 5s, or plain blue for a more classic look. It's hard to make a purist Vaughn on par with GCCs, but these are the best ways I could find. The last minifigure upgrade I have for this video is the Mandalorian Super Commando. This minifigure looks pretty cool, but is missing some leg printing. The best way to fix this is by using these black Nexonite legs with red and silver printing. These match well with the damaged armor on the torso and make this minifigure look much cooler. I also gave him two small matching blasters instead of the standard one LEGO used, and a non-Clone Wars style head. This makes the minifigure look much better and far more like a 2025 minifigure. So there you have it, 20 LEGO Star Wars minifigure upgrades. Hopefully you can use these to upgrade your own minifigures. Let me know your favourite in the comments, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Pieces.